Good afternoon, all of you. Yes, so what we were discussing yesterday, moral thinkers. Okay. Moral thinkers. In fact, we were discussing this under the themes as the dimensions of ethics. Under dimensions of ethics, we are discussing, and these are also known as normative theories. Normative theories. Okay, so two theories or two dimensions we have discussed. I think three we have discussed. Consequential. Achha, four. Consequential में we have discussed Bentham. Yes. What the job? Bentham का क्या principle है? Greatest happiness of greatest number. That is utilitarian philosophy. So decision should be in the larger public interest. But then there is a criticism also, okay, because he always justified the benefit of majority and ignoring the minority also, okay. So, and his happiness is materialistic or utility-based happiness, not a value-based happiness. So, the point is, against this criticism, the J.S. Mill, okay, has revised the scheme of utilitarianism. What is the J.S. Mill has to say? Yes, in fact, he is trying to condition the utilitarianism, defending the liberty and also the value-based happiness. Okay. Yes, qualitative utilitarianism. Second is with respect to deontology. Also, I have mentioned that if you want to write in the larger public interest, then terms welfare should be used, okay, rather than utilitarianism, okay, welfare, common good, common interest. Deontology, Immanuel Kant. What is his principle? Dignity. Dignity as a categorical imperative. Okay, dignity of individual is categorical imperative means it's an absolute essential thing. It cannot be negotiated. It is uncompromised principle. Okay, you cannot compromise with this. And we have taken one statement also that every individual is end in himself and he should not be exploited or used as a means to an end. Okay, we have seen Gandhi also, although we have to see separately Mahatma Gandhi as a thinker and Indian thinkers, but here it was significance of deontology, means and ends, that he says that means should be equally good as that of end. Fundamental duty is also, okay, so these are the things. Third is virtue. So what are the scholars here? Yes, Socrates, Plato, Aristotle. What is the virtue for Aristotle? Golden mean is a virtue. Okay, that is a mean. Basically, it is a mean, following the mean. That is a middle path. Okay, we are compared with the Buddha's philosophy also. So different virtues are required to be possessed in life, and therefore, so you can have different scholars also here. We have seen this moral education theories also in order to inculcate the moral values. Okay. Fourth, we have seen the rights. Now, you have taken the list of different rights, and we are discussing now the human rights. Okay, so I think we have stopped here, right? Okay, so human rights, right? Human rights. Yes, how do you define the human rights? What is human rights? What do you understand? Living life. Other rights are not required. dignified life, okay, right? Something. Human rights are those rights, human rights are those rights to which individuals are entitled to which individuals are entitled to which individuals are entitled to by virtue of being a human, by virtue of being a human. सलमान वाला नहीं है वो, ठीक है. Being a human means human is a sufficient criteria for you that you enjoy the human rights. So, for example, in fundamental rights in India, you need to be a citizen. Okay, so there is a universality with respect to the human rights. Right, further in continuation, human rights are the basic. Human rights involves the basic rights which are essential for survival and dignified life of an individual, which are essential for survival and dignified life of individual. Survival and dignified life of individual, such as right to life, right to speech and expression, okay, etc. Now, these values, important thing is that even if a particular state is not recognizing, there are international conventions, and say, for example, refugee. So, refugee may not enjoy the state-based rights of a particular country, but still they have the human rights. So, these are very, very fundamental, very basics which are required for the survival and for a dignified life of human being. Now, let's see the context when it has emerged and what are the things here. Yesterday I have spoken that rights, there cannot be a particular thinker because ultimately it is recognized by the state and they are enforced by the state. So context when the human rights term came into existence, UDHR, yes, Universal Declaration of Human Rights. So the context was during when the First World War ended, where the Germany has lost the war. So then there was a sort of seeds of Second World War were sown in the First World War itself. Okay, there was a famous treaty. Okay, कौन सी थी? Versailles Treaty. Okay, so this was where we see that the Germany wanted to like regain and restore the glory also, or for that matter, take a revenge. So there was a ascendancy of dictatorialship under the regime of Hitler. Okay, and we have seen that during the regime of Hitler, okay, atrocities were committed against the Jews. In fact, Jews were burned into concentration camps, gas chambers. Okay, now this was the time where how many Jews? Yes, any number? 60 lakh, okay, 6 to 8 million is a figure, so obviously 80 lakh to 60 lakh. Think of 60, 80 lakh people burning into the concentration chamber. Now, this was the time where this has shaken the conscience of humanity at large. It was not something a people of group of targeted, but there was obvious wrong that has happened. There is something that the confidence or the conscience of humanity has shaken. Now, in order to stop all such things in future, okay, there was accountability of this Nazi Germans, and there was a very famous trial after the Second World War. It's a Nuremberg trial. There is a place in Germany. So the trials, very famous trials, Nuremberg trials were conducted under a specific charges. Also unique of its kind. The charges upon them were crime against humanity. It's not murder, killing, or etc. So that's also a very important catchphrase, that is crime against humanity. Now, after this, there was a felt need that such things should not happen in future, and therefore we need to have a codified groups of rights so that such tendency should be avoided. In the earlier times, there was and no international institution which can make them accountable. Probably there was a League of Nations, but the League of Nations was not very successful. So it was about to replace by the United Nations. One of the important objective of United Nations is to uphold the human rights for the times to come. And therefore, we see there is an emergence of Universal Declaration of Human Rights. This is the single most important document for the human right in international politics. Okay, so write something about this, like in the context. During interwar period, interwar means between two world wars, or in bracket you can write between two world wars. During interwar period, world has witnessed, during interwar period, world has witnessed rise of fascism, rise of fascism, rise of fascism. In Germany, under the rule of Hitler, Nazi Germans committed atrocities against Jews. Nazi Germans committed atrocities against Jews. Atrocities against Jews. Jews were burned into concentration camps, gas chambers. This is required to be written because in ethics there has to be a sensitivity also, because many a times we write, okay, likho pehle. क्या लिखा है? Jews were burned into the gas chamber, concentration camps. So most of the times we tend to just take figures, 20 people killed, 40 people killed. There's a concept called banality of evil. Banality of evil is most of the times these sensitive issues get reduced into mere statistics, and there is no sort of attention that is required to be given. Okay, and therefore it is required to understand the. Now imagine 6 lakh or 60 lakh people being burned and murdered. Okay, there's a very, very serious issue. So what you have written has burned into the concentration camps. Following this, the trials were conducted. Trials were conducted in order to make Nazi Germans accountable. In order to make Nazi Germans accountable for the crimes they have committed. For the crimes they have committed. These trials are famously known as Nuremberg trial. Nuremberg is a place in Germany. Okay. In fact, there is a Hollywood movie also, if you have seen. It's a very good movie. Otherwise, there is also another movie which is on this context. Schindler's List karke. Okay. The humanity during the time of Hitler's regime. Nuremberg trial. So, these trials were against the charges of, right? These trials were against the charges of, comma into noted comma, crime against humanity. Crime against humanity. This is a very popular term in frequent articles also. You will see when there is obvious something wrong, like say for example Delhi gang rape and such heinous crimes happens and something outrageous thing happen. These terms are being used in article, crime against humanity. It means that something which has shaken the conscience of humanity at large. Okay, so the consequences of these charges were not only that you have killed a particular group of number or Jews, but it's against the humanity. Okay, so there's a very popular one. And for the first time, there was a lot of awareness and discussion, deliberation that human rights are very important. And after this Nuremberg trial, naturally there was a deliberation and discussion, and the United Declaration of Human Rights originated. So right in the next paragraph now. Again, following the Nuremberg trial, following the Nuremberg trial, there was a wider discussion, or following the Nuremberg trial, doctrine of human rights. Following the Nuremberg trial, doctrine of human rights originated under the United Nations, UN member countries, agreed upon fundamental document on human rights. Fundamental document on human rights known as UDHR, that is Universal Declaration of Human Rights. Universal Declaration of Human Rights. This is the single most important document in international politics on the human rights. Universal Declaration of Human Rights. क्या डेट था इसका, ईयर कौन सा था? 1948. Date? No, December 10th. December 10th that's why is being celebrated as, yes, Human Rights Day or मानव अधिकार दिवस जिसको बोला जाता है. Okay. हाँ. Yes, but it's wrong. Yes, certainly he was the one, but it was out of a deliberation of many people. Okay. In fact, yesterday we had talked about Immanuel Kant, who said that dignity of every single individual, whether he is a slave, whether he is a bonded labor, and it's a categorical imperative. It cannot be even negotiated. So seeds of human rights and the glimpses of human rights you will find in the deliberation of different philosophers, and collective efforts has given rise to this UDHR document. Now, to start with, this was a voluntary document. Okay, it was non-binding document to start with. Okay, when 1948 this UDHR came into being, there was sort of no binding, okay, on the parties. It was more of a voluntary thing. But later on, 2 covenants were signed. Okay, and that's not important again. You must have studied in the polity part. That is International Convention on Civil and Political Rights and International Convention on Socio-Economic Rights. So later on, 2 conventions were signed, and these conventions were binding. Now almost all the countries are signatory to this. It means that what is the meaning of binding? If there is a human right violation, so obviously international community can intervene in your country in order to protect the human rights. So even if there is a state-sponsored terrorism, state-sponsored human right violation, okay, there will be an intervention by international politics. In fact, this is the only excuse in international politics legally that you can intervene in other country. Otherwise, there is a principle of sovereignty. Okay, so you cannot enter. But this is generally this right to protect principle doctrine is there again. United Nations has come up with this, and through which you can make a deliberation. Particularly, there is a lot of politics. We are not entering into that because ultimately the consensus of United Nations Security Council is required. And in Security Council, you require veto. Okay, 5 countries have veto power. So even when there is a lot of politics, even when say, take a case of Syria, like human right violation is happening, Assad regime is there, and still we do not see under the United Nations Security Council there is an intervention. So this is because there is no consensus within the P5 countries or those permanent members of United Nations, so United Nations Security Council. So उनके बीच में consensus नहीं है, उनको veto power रहती है. तो in some cases, even when the human right violation is happening, intervention do not happen. And wherever there is oil, there is an intervention, okay, irrespective of any fact, because America is always hungry and thirsty of oil. So there is a lot of politics, but the point here we have to remember is, now this is the beginning of one of the most important rights, that is human rights. Now coming to in India, what is an arrangement? So Indian scenario, or India, in India you can write. In India we have the NHRC. That is, yes, National Human Rights Commission, okay, is the apex institution to protect the human rights. In India, National Human Rights Commission. National Human Rights Commission is an apex institution. Apart from that, High Court and Supreme Court also do not see that human right only National Human Rights Commission. How Supreme Court and High Court also uphold the human rights? Yes. See, the thing is, fundamental right is nothing but one category of human rights only. The word fundamental is technical in India because it is a part 3 of Indian Constitution. But if you see the generic word fundamental, fundamental is something which is very basic and essential. So what is basic is essential for the Indian citizens, that has been codified, which is nothing but the sort of human rights only. So under Article 32, you have writ jurisdiction, and 226 under the High Court. Okay, so 32 you go to the Supreme Court, 226 you go to High Court in order to make enforcement of those rights. So particularly enforcement of Article 21, okay, which is the amplitude of Article 21 has been increased by Supreme Court through the various verdicts. So all those verdicts are nothing but the part of the human rights in some or the other way. So NHRC, now there are certain problems with NHRC also, because we see that the power of NHRC is very limited. Okay, there is again where we see that independent functioning is an issue, plus the power is just recommendatory power. They themselves cannot take the action. So if the state has committed somewhere any human right violation, and even if NHRC suggests, so ultimately it becomes a recommendation, and it is for the government of the day whether to consider the recommendations or not. So these are certain structural problems with the NHRC body. But by and large, if you see the whatever the mandate that was given to NHRC and whatever the structure, so functioning of NHRC by and large has been satisfactory. Satisfactory in a sense that there are certain problems, but there are structural problems. Okay, you need to like amend the particular act in order to increase the power. But whatever the power is there, still they have done their level best. Particularly, it came into limelight during the time of Godhra riot. Okay, when NHRC has gone there, not only, see the point of this is a quasi-judiciary body. So it is basically to resolve the conflict. But beyond conflict also, they have gone into psychological counseling of the victim. They have gone into compensation. They have gone into the rehabilitation. So you see that very humanistic attitude has been adopted by NHRC, and that was the time where it came into limelight in 2002, and then there was no looking back for the NHRC. So there has been good roles as such which is played, but still lot can be done in a sense that the mandate can be increased, the power can be increased, the loopholes in the acts can be removed, the independent functioning, etc., etc. So, in fact, this is again, you are part of more of a governance, what are the NHRs and etc. But the passing references here, there are provisions for the human right violations in India. Just write the heading now, subheading, that is different issues of human rights in India. Different issues of human rights in India. Okay, so what are the general issues which we discuss in society, Indian society, which are the human rights? Dalit atrocities, okay, yes. हाँ एक लिखो, सो लिखो पहले. Dalit atrocities, particularly this Untouchable Act and Civil Right Protection Act, which was there, but the thing is, situation has not changed Okay, that is where we see that mere bringing the law will not bring the complete change. It is only a facilitator. Okay, ultimately how the society reacts to it, that's altogether a different thing. So along with the law, you need to also imbibe the values. Okay, so still like this is a case of UNA. Okay, if you have seen the clips on YouTube. Okay, so that's a blatant violation or the human right atrocities. Yes, that is one. Second, which one? रोहित वेमुलास डेथ. हाँ, इंसिडेंट थोड़ा सा बताइए, क्या मतलब कुछ इश्यूज बताना पड़ेगा आपको. दलित असर्टिव्स के अंदर ही आ जाएगा वो तो. सेकेंड, यू कैन राइट ह्यूमन ट्रैफिकिंग. यस, राइट, ह्यूमन ट्रैफिकिंग. Third, you can write again child labor. Next, atrocities against women. Atrocities against women. Next, bonded labor. Next, manual scavenging. Do you think human right violation? Yes, certainly. Okay, it's a very important case. Manual scavenging. Then right next, custodian deaths, custodian rape, custodian violence, custodian death in custody, custodian death, custodian rape, which is the famous case, Mathura gang rape. Okay, this has in fact changed the course of women rights in India. 70s में काफी famous case हुआ था ये Mathura gang rape. Particularly, Rakshak become Bhakshak. Okay, that sort of a thing. Yes, this has happened in the custodian violence. Then, yes, right, the next fake encounter, obviously. Fake encounters. Next, separately, issue of under trials. Issue of under trials. How the issue of under trial is a human right violation? Yes. See, my maximum punishment for my crime is, say, for example, 4 years. I have already in jail in 6 years. I am waiting for my trial to come. So my maximum punishment is 4 years. But since 6 years I am waiting. And think of if I am acquitted. So how the justice will be done? So issue of under trial is a very serious issue. So that's a sort of justice delayed is justice denied sort of thing. Okay, but justice hurried is justice buried also. Okay, in a hasty manner, if the decision is also taken, that's also sort. Yes, any other? Honor killing, yes. Honor killing. Honor killing. Right, Armed Forces Special Power Act, issues within the AFSPA. Issues with Armed Forces Special Power Act. In fact, this was the question which was asked in paper 3 last year in 2015. So what are the human rights violation issues with regard to Armed Forces Special Power Act? In fact, there has been a lot of politics also on this particular issue, but that's a reality that there are human right violations under the armed forces. So there was a suggestion by ARC to not this ARC that ethics in governance वाला नहीं है, security issues में उन्होंने बताया था कि it need to be either abolished or made to more humane. Okay, there has to be a reform certain. Then there was a Justice Jeevan Reddy committee specifically on the armed forces special and their issues that also said that there should be an abolition of the act. So the certain reforms are required. In fact, if you see in case of a Northeast, okay, particularly in case of Nagaland and Manipur, and also in case of Jammu and Kashmir, okay, so there has been a lot of damage that has happened because it's being said that remedy should not be worse than the disease. Okay, so you have brought in armed forces so as to tackle the law and order situation. But the law and order situation that has become a counterproductive because of the perception with regard to this act. There was this iron lady, there is Iram Sharmila, yes, who has been on the fast for 15 plus years. I think she has broken the fast now, aise lag raha hoga. शी इज नाउ थिंकिंग ऑफ ज्वाइनिंग पॉलिटिक्स. तो लोग बोल रहे होंगे कि 15 साल से शायद इसीलिए फास्ट कर रही थी कि ताकि पॉलिटिक्स ज्वाइन करना होगा. पीपल हैव अ वेरी वियर्ड आउटलुक ऑफ इंटरप्रिटेशन ऑल्सो कि इसको तो पॉलिटिक्स ही करना होगा इसलिए 15 साल से फास्ट करने लग गई, पॉपुलैरिटी एंड एक्सेट्रा. But that's a reality. Okay, the armed forces. There was a naked parade also in case of Manipur. If anybody from Northeast, there was against the BSF. Yes, in case of Manipur. Okay, so there was. Hmm? Yes, women was raped, and then on the very next day, protest was there. Okay, so there are a lot many things on the ground, and rightly this UPSC in question, paper 3 has asked what are the reforms and what are the issues with regard to. So the point is, yes, certainly in disturbed situation, army require an extra power. So we are not debating that they should not have an extra power, but then there has to be a legitimate and objective use of power. That power is not given to commit an atrocities or human right violations. So there has to be a certain objectivity to the decision making. Another thing with respect to armed forces special power is the thing is there is a blanket immunity to the person who commits the crime. Blanket immunity in the sense that, see, killing or violation is one thing, and not even going for the trial is another thing. Think of a victim. First of all, somebody has died, or some fake encounter has happened, or some rape has happened. Second is that person do not have an opportunity to have a objective trial also. The due process is not there to make the person accountable. So that is, there are certain points within the AFSPA that is required to be revisited, and it should be either replaced by some other act, or it should be made more human and more impartiality and objectivity with respect to its implementation. Okay. Yes, any other LGBT rights separately also, that's also a sort of a human rights. In fact, we fail to understand them as a humans. They are also naturally created, quote unquote. नाम लिखो आपका खुद का, ठीक है? So yes, these are also human right violations, LGBTQ or LGBT. In fact, yes, one more thing, NHRC is not only seen conflict situation where there is a human right violation, where violence and this thing. Even there are silent emergencies such as malnutrition. NHRC in Orissa particularly, there is a KBK district. Okay, anybody from Orissa? KBK kya hai? No. Kalahandi, Bolangir and Koraput karke 3 district hai. Okay, that's not important. What is important is there is an endemic to malnutrition, and malnutrition as a human right violation. In fact, this is what the NHRC has interpreted. So, right, that's also malnutrition as a human right violation. Next. Yes, any other, whatever you come across, you think that this is a human right violation, so that can be added into this category. Okay, so by and large, we see that there are issues with respect to human right violations. So number of case studies will be there. In fact, in 2015, again, there was untouchability, जो दलित atrocities बताया, atrocity नहीं था, but untouchability also. Okay, untouchability से related था कि एक cook है, एक school है, school में cook खाना बना रहा है, and he belongs to the Dalit category. The people have stopped sending the kids to the school because the food is being prepared by untouchable. You are a sarpanch of that particular school, and if people will not come to the school, school is going to get closed. Okay, so such type of case studies are also asked. Therefore, there you require to bring up this philosophy of human right, etc. We are going to do when we'll complete this session and then start with the case studies. So we will do and revisit those case studies. But yes, certainly good number of case studies, because ethics is all about like bringing the humanity and human component. That's why I've taken human rights in detail, and not only just factually writing, most of things you must be knowing, but to sensitize that these are the issues which are there, and whenever you are reading newspaper and articles, you should feel bad about it. Okay, पता नहीं आप bad feel करते हैं या कैसे हैं, but unless you make it fake it, bad feel हो रहा है, empathy compassion तो लिखना ही पड़ेगा, ठीक है? There was a case in Orissa. This person was हाँ जो भी है, the person was carrying wife, okay, dead body of the wife for some kilometers. NHRC has sent the notice to the administration that this was a suo motu, taking the case. Suo motu means by your own self, okay, through the advertisement, social media, or different media, print media, you get the news, and the NHRC again has sent the notice, show cause notice. But again, NHRC is not so powerful that they can make them accountable. It's only showing the notice, suggesting the recommendation, etc. So there are structural reforms are also required within the NHRC so as to make it a stronger body of accountability, particularly on the human rights. Toothless tiger, yes, toothless tiger, okay, paperless tiger, paper tiger, बहुत सारे terms रहते हैं, yes. So that's about it. Any other right you want to know, because the same discussion is there, but human right is required to be understood. बाकी जो है fundamental right, you must have studied part 3 of Indian Constitution, okay, then socio-economic, political rights. बाकी के theme में और rights आएंगे, ठीक है? So rest of the rights we're going to do in other themes also. If you have any doubt till this point, then ask. Otherwise, let's move to the next theme. आपने पहले हेडिंग क्या डाल के रखा हुआ है? लास्ट क्या लिखा हुआ है? LGBT rights, okay. Farmer suicide, yes. See, the point is, let me tell you, this is not to contradict the issue, but any right has become, if you liberally interpret, has become a human right these days. कुछ होता है तो कैंडल वैंडल निकाल के फिर इंडिया गेट पे जाना है. So from the perspective of whose right is violated, obviously for him it is a bigger loss. He will call it a violation of human rights only. But then you have to see also the law, constitution, etc., and from the larger perspective also. But yes, certainly wherever there is obvious thing, we say the principle of natural justice and human rights have been violated. In fact, capital punishment also. Okay, but then there are different schools of thoughts. Okay, there is a stem cell therapy, and therefore the killing of fetus also. There is a human right violation. They say that. You know this stem cell. What is the issue here? Stem cell therapy. What is the human right violation with regard to biotechnology and stem cell research? Without permission using others. Stem cell adult में मिलता है? हाँ, fetus. So fetus की permission कैसे लोगे आप? नहीं, but he has a point. See, the thing is, no, that's not the thing. See, yes, you have some points. Like generally, we say that stem cells are undifferentiated cells, okay, undivided, and you can use them for different treatment. So there is a lot of benefit if you apply the consequential ethics. Okay, there is a lot of benefit of stem cell. In fact, some of the diseases like Alzheimer's disease and diabetes, okay, there are different diseases where there is no medical treatment available, like conventional medical treatment. So stem cell has become a hope for those people in order to replace their original cells, particularly जो degenerative diseases होते हैं. तो उसमें stem cell is a solution. But the point is, what is the source of stem cell? Source of stem cell, again there are, I'll come to that point, that is a fetus. Okay. A fetus, somebody will call this as an embryo. Okay. Now, obviously, before that, there was a zygote. Zygote is sperm and ovum. Okay. And then zygote. Now, zygote का जो ये 3-4 दिन रहते हैं, there is a multiplicity of division of cells, and we call it embryo. Now, the point is, when you take the stem cell out of it, it leads to killing of fetus or embryo. Now, here, what's wrong here, if you see the means as a applied criteria, that is killing of someone for the benefit of others. If you apply the consequential ethics or utilitarian Bentham principle, Bentham will justify greatest happiness of greatest number. But if you apply the deontology, then it may not be justified. But the point, now the scientists are divided here, like some Catholics जो क्रिश्चियन कैथोलिक कम्युनिटी है, they do not permit because they think that it is an embryo and embryo has a life and fetus has a life, so therefore killing of this fetus is wrong thing to do. That's a human right violation of fetus. Now there are other school where the scientist community feel, they are called as pro-choicers and pro-lifers. So scientific community says that this is just a collection of mass of tissue. Okay, it is yet to be differentiated into different organs of the body, and therefore when we take the cell from here, it's not good enough to call a life. This is not a life, this is a collection of tissue, and therefore we cannot say that it's a human right violation. So in fact there is a debate when the human right starts, whether it starts when the delivery of the baby on that particular day, whether this starts somewhere when the child is in uterus, whether somewhere starts when the fertilization has happened. So there is a lot of controversy with respect to human right violation. So here also the people who believe that this involves essentially the killing of embryo, therefore on the basis of human rights they reject the stem cell therapy and stem cell research. This was the reason where since the Catholic lobby is very strong in America, so during the time of Barack Obama regime, there has been sort of freezing of funding for the stem cell research because this lobby was very strong. But now, as we speak today, so there has been a lot of research that can we go wherein we can develop a technology, we can remove the stem cell without killing of embryo, or can we find some other different sources of stem cell? Any other different source of stem cell? Bone marrow is also there, but the thing is, there is a limit what we can do with the bone marrow. This cell line division is only for the blood cancer, okay? Because bone marrow, this is a stem cell of blood cells. थोड़ी basic biology पता है या नहीं पता है? हाँ, कम पता है, ठीक है, पता है, that is important. So ये जो स्टेम सेल है ये बहुत ज्यादा काम का है, ये कौन से भी ऑर्गन तैयार कर सकता है बॉडी के, बी इट लिवर, बी इट एनीथिंग. दिस इज कॉल्ड एज प्लूरिपोटेंट स्टेम सेल एंड दिस इज कॉल्ड यूनिपोटेंट. यूनिपोटेंट मतलब केवल ब्लड लाइन, हाँ, सिंगल लाइन और सिंगल के लिए यूज होता है. जैसे बॉलीवुड में दिखाते हैं कि ब्लड कैंसर हुआ है, फिर उसकी, हाँ, उसके भाई बहन में किसी का मैच नहीं करेगा, चले कॉम्पिटेबिलिटी, जो दुश्मन रहेगा, जिसके ऊपर प्यार रहेगा उसी का मैच होगा, फिर इसके इन लॉज नहीं बोल रहे, फिर कुछ ना कुछ होके फिर अच्छी कहानी हो जाएगी. वेल, देयर विल बी अ गुड एंडिंग. ओके, बट ए दिल है मुश्किल देखा है क्या? ओके, उसमें गुड एंडिंग नहीं है. फ्रेंड जोन आर फ्रेंड जोन परमानेंट. ओके, सो दैट्स अ गुड कि रियलिटी इज रियलिटी. ऐसे नहीं है कि 3 घंटे के बाद नहीं फ्रेंड जोन को दूसरा जोन कर दिया है. सो दैट्स समथिंग रियलिटी. So people should keep that thing in mind, okay, otherwise. Anyways, so that's the point. In case of stem cell, if you have this particular, there is a IPS also, induced pluripotent stem cells, then you have the placental extract. Placenta, you understand? Okay, so connection between the mother and the embryo. Okay, so these are the different things you will learn in science and tech. Okay, the whole point is there are certain issues which are obvious human right violation. There are certain issues which are debatable. Just a capital punishment is also, some group of people justify capital punishment. Some people will say that capital punishment should be abolished on the basis of human rights. So yes, what you have said is can be a human right violation. Farmer suicide to obvious ही है, but there are other things also which are the parts of human right violations. Okay, now let's come to the next theme, that is justice. Okay, right, the justice. Yes, anybody has any problem, please ask in the last theme. Shall we proceed? Now, justice, again, wherever there is ethics and good, so obviously justice will be there. To simply put it, it is to be a fair with someone. Okay, that is a fairness. To be a fair with someone is justice. in a simplistic manner. Now, it's a very, very big issue of justice. So we are going to categorize into broadly two aspects, something related with crime and criminal aspect. Crime and criminal aspects. So wherever there is a crime, we think of providing some other way, rectifying the mistakes, grievance redressal, and providing the justice. And second, broadly, whenever, if there is no crime also, but in normal, peaceful situation also, there is an issue of justice, that is principally with regard to the distribution of resources. The justice with regard to distribution of resources. Distribution of resources, what should be the criteria for distribution of resources, state resources to its public, okay? Now, crime and criminal element. So, if the crime has happened, there are different theories of justice. So, first we will discuss this in length and then we'll proceed to that. So, the first theory of justice is retributive theory, okay? Retributive justice. Retributive justice. Yes, what do you understand by the word retributive? Revenge, or the literal meaning is reciprocity. It's about revenge only. Say, if you do the good work, what you will get in return is reward. If you do the crime, what you will get in reward? Punishment. So, this is about the punishing the right, retributive justice. Justice is done. Retributive justice. Justice is done by punishing the criminal. Justice is done by punishing the criminal for the crime committed. Punishing the criminal for the crime committed and nothing else. And nothing else लिखने की जरूरत नहीं है, लेकिन lawyers ऐसे ही लिखते हैं, बहुत clear cut. Nothing else means there has to be breaking of the law. So you are punishing something for a very specific thing and for nothing else. That is, the simple theory of justice here is punishment. By punishing the person, we are saying that justice is done. Now, within the punishment also, okay, there are ethical principles. Let's assume that somebody has taken or stolen a pen or a pocket. He is awarded capital punishment, okay, because he has done the crime and because he has stolen the pen, so capital punishment should be granted. This is a retributive principle. Sounds punishment for the crime is fine, but there is a proportionate theory of justice. There is a, so within the punishment also, there is a principle called proportionate principle. Proportionate principle, so right, what is proportion? इसी के अंदर है, okay? Broadly, punishment should be proportionate to the crime committed. Punishment should be proportionate to crime committed. So I hope you understand that proportionate means a given punishment. नहीं तो फिर वो तालिबान में और इंडिया में फर्क नहीं रहेगा, okay? कुछ चोरी किया है तो हाथ काट दो, सर काट दो, ये कर दो, okay? पब्लिक में टांग दो उसको, इससे मार दो, उससे मार दो. So that's not a proportionate theory of justice. So that's a one. In fact, you can understand this. There was a case in Bihar now. There has been prohibition on something. Okay, हाँ, ये इसका तो newspaper भी नहीं पढ़ा होता है तब भी पता रहता है, हाँ? It affects us a lot. Yes, prohibition of liquor. What was the Patna High Court has said that what the Nitish Kumar has gone for the prohibition was not very correct and it is unconstitutional and etc. Now, there are two issues here. There are points can be forwarded for prohibition also, because if you see in case of a Bihar, the domestic violence basically is a function of liquor, because the people booze and then come back home and then, yes, they beat. There is a domestic violence. Not only a domestic violence, but social crimes also, road traffic accidents, diversion of family resources. There are various issues within the rural, not only in Bihar, but elsewhere also, particularly in rural India. The out-of-the-pocket expenditure for the liquor is very high, and therefore it creates a sort of a disharmony within the family, within the society, etc. In spite of, there are various reasons, other reasons can be also forwarded. The court has said that this is unconstitutional and etc. One of the reasons they have said is, okay, it is against the choice of individual, and particularly if the person is doing at individual level without causing any harm to the health and not being a nuisance for the society. मतलब एक दो पेग लेके लेके सो जा रहा है आराम से, किसी को फोन नहीं कर रहा है, डिस्टर्ब नहीं कर रहा है, वायलेंस नहीं कर रहा है, तो दैट इज फाइन, राइट टू चूज. ऐसा होता नहीं है, बट इसीलिए तो लोग किक चाहिए रहती है, ठीक है. सो द पॉइंट इज, apart from this, there was another reason why the Patna High Court has taken down the prohibition order. What was that? Yes, punishment. The punishment which has been given in that order has been severely criticized. Punishment कितनी है वहाँ पे? 7 years and 7 to 10 years of punishment plus 10 lakh rupees for the person who is consuming the alcohol. जो family है, even when they are not consuming, they will also be taken to the custody. Premise in which you are consuming the alcohol, हाँ, second floor पे कर रहे हो, third floor के लोगों को भी पूरे premise को लेके लिया जाएगा कि तुम्हें कैसे नहीं पता नहीं है कि इस premise में ऐसे ऐसे हो रहा है. If required, even the whole village will be taken if they are knowing and not taking any action. So these were the some of the provisions, and this goes against the principle of this proportionate principle of justice. And we have to understand that yes, crime is there and we can punish, but punishment also has to be a proportionate one. So that's the proportionate principle. Others, some of the other principles you must have studied already in polity. There should not be retrospective impact of law. Natural justice is a general point, but to be specific, in case of fundamental rights, there is no ex post facto legislation karke. There is no retrospective effect of law. Okay, so if you have done the crime, one cannot, like say for example, if there is no law, you cannot make the law in future and then retrospectively apply. There was one person in Delhi gang rape who was a sort of a juvenile. Okay, so later on the law was passed, but that law cannot be applied to, yes, that particular person. Although ये जो Mercedes का case हुआ है, hit and run case, okay, the person is 17 plus, तो उसको वो law लगेगा because after the law उसको वो particular act हुआ था, ठीक है. So no retrospective effect of law and no double jeopardy, that there cannot be a punishment for twice. हाँ सेम ऑफेंस के लिए ट्वाइस, नहीं तो वही ऑफेंस 10 बार कर रहे हो तो हाँ एक बार अब पनिशमेंट मिल चुकी है. आई गॉट टिकट्स टू कमिट द क्राइम अगेन एंड अगेन, सो दैट्स नॉट द थिंग. सेम क्राइम के लिए देयर विल नॉट बी अ punishment twice. These are the principles. The whole story here is punishment is one of the way through which you deliver a justice. That's the larger point. This point are not that important. You just remember this punishment as a part. Second theory of justice is reformative theory. Reformative justice. Reformative justice. What is done here? Criminal, punishing him. Okay, so write something about it. Reformative justice. Justice is done. Justice is done by reforming the criminal. By reforming the criminal. Reforming the criminal. This is done through. इस क्या क्या किया जाता है? काउंसलिंग, okay, psychological counseling, साइकोलॉजिकल काउंसलिंग, मॉरल एजुकेशन, उसके 2-4 एथिक्स के क्लास पढ़ाई दी जाती है, ऐसा है वैसा है, ठीक है। मॉरल एजुकेशन, वोकेशनल वर्क, वोकेशनल एक्टिविटीज, vocational activities. Can meditation also be a reformative justice? Yes. In fact, this Kiran Bedi has done in Tihar jail, okay, through meditation, etc. अब पूरा मत लिखो, योगा वीगा, ठीक है, रिफॉर्मेटिव जस्टिस, ठीक है। Meditation में there is a introspection, and through introspection you try to understand that context and circumstances under which you have committed the crime was not correct. So some other way, okay, the attempt is made to reform him to the normalcy. So these two theories, what is the difference broadly if you see? Okay, you can write in continuation. See, this theory is based upon basically broadly the Bentham principle. We are studying scholars, so because he is saying greatest happiness of greatest number. So we can punish few in the larger interest. In fact, he would justify the capital punishment also, like killing of one for the benefits of other, because he is sort of detrimental for the society. Here, Gandhi in fact said, this theory is not very soundproof. Eye for an eye will make the whole world blind. So retributive theory, because see, try and understand first here. When a person is taken here in case of retributive out of society for the crime, then he is putting into the jail, say for example 2 years, 5 years, 7 years, 10 years, whatever the thing is. And then when he come back, okay, most of the time there is an attitude of revenge. People think that my life has got wasted, or productive years of life, and therefore he comes and he harms XYZ person. In fact, there's a case of Haryana where the people who have been charged for the rape came out and raped the same women. Okay, there's a very, very horrendous crime, you can say that. Not the other, even the same. So you can think of the punishment as an instrument of changing the mindset and justice. So nothing has happened. Not in all cases happen, but still this is the case where we only believe in punishment will sort of bring in remorse, and therefore he will not commit, or not remorse, in fact remorse will come here. There it is more of a deterrence, okay, through the deterrence he will not commit the crime. But in this case, reformation mein, he is taken out crime, then he is put into the jail, but then he is brought as a normal human being, okay, with a normal mindset. The attempt is made so as to reform him through the different methods. Which one seems to be a good one and should go ahead with? Reformative. Yes, there has to be a both. Think of the retributive is not there and only reformative. It will incentivize the crime. Okay, जिसको खाना पीना नहीं मिल रहा है, चलो 2-4 बैंक रॉबरी करते हैं, वहाँ जाते हैं. एम्प्लॉयमेंट, ओकेशन, इथिक्स के क्लासेस, फिर मेडिटेशन, ओके, पूरा का पूरा मतलब लाइफ सेट हो जाएगी, 2-4 गुने करने हैं. सो दैट इट विल रन कॉम्प्लीमेंट्री टू रिट्रीब्यूटिव जस्टिस, ओके. Retributive justice and reformative. In India, there is no focus on reformation. Retribution is there. Reformation is there only in juvenile cases. Okay, so that should be also extended to the adult cases. Particularly in Western societies, there is a lot of focus on this. Okay, in Western societies, there is a reformation, rehabilitation of mind. Okay, Tanuved's Manu second part देखा है क्या? पहला ही वहीं से निकलते हैं बाहर. Okay. हाँ, तो वो रिहेबिलिटेशन सेंटर्स काफ़ी रहते हैं, लेकिन वो डिफरेंट है. रिहेबिलिटेशन वो साइकोलॉजिकल, यस, उसका रिहेबिलिटेशन है. सो रिफॉर्मेटिव जस्टिस इज रिफॉर्मिंग द थिंग. नाउ बोथ शुड रन कॉम्प्लीमेंट्री. सो इन केस स्टडी, इफ सम केस इज गिवन ऑफ क्राइम, डू नॉट रिस्ट्रिक्ट ओनली टू द इंक्रीजिंग द लॉज एंड दिस. You should also talk about value inculcation and reformation and different ways. That's the idea here, because this point is missed out a lot many times. Now there is a third theory also, okay, third theory, that is a theory of deterrence. Theory of deterrence. What is deterrence? That is uh, disincentivizing, or there is a fear. This is basically the prevention of crime. See, these two will come into picture when the crime has already happened. Deterrence theory is before committing the crime, the person is thinking 10 times and thinking what are the consequences. If your criminal justice system is very strong, then there is a lot of deterrence and person will not commit the crime. But if the criminal justice system is weak, then obviously the person will commit the crime. So write something about deterrence. This involves prevention of crime by inflicting terror or fear, by infusing terror or fear with regard to commission of crime, and its consequence. Okay, this involves infusing the terror or the fear into the minds with regard to crime and its consequence. Okay, this is preventive. The intention of deterrence is, right? The intention of creating deterrence is to prevent the crime from happening. To prevent the crime from happening. To prevent the crime from happening. Now, to have a strong deterrence, country need strong laws and effective implementation of those laws. Country need strong laws and effective implementation of laws. So both the things, deterrence is a function of your how your criminal justice system work. Criminal justice system itself depends upon the law, whether it is a weak law or a strong law, and how it is its implementation. Now think of you have committed, say for example, any crime and there is a 6 months of punishment. Let's say, so obviously people will not have a lot of deterrence. Or say the punishment is strong, like 7 years to 10 years, but then there is no good implementation. Okay, there is a laxity in implementation, or the criminal justice system is politicized, and in fact that is what the case in India, where investigation is very shouty. Okay, and therefore many a times Supreme Court and High Court couple of times says to the police, okay, your investigation is not very strong and we cannot punish the person. And there is another reason also related with the police reform, because police in India has two tasks. One is looking the law and order, and also the investigation of crime. And investigation is a very serious business. Okay, it's not something like a day-to-day work. It requires a lot of mental acumen, intellectual acumen, and so on and so forth. There are different things, but in most of the times they are involved in this bandobast. Again, going here and there, running here. कभी क्रिकेट मैच है तो फिरोज शाह चले गए, कभी कैंडल लाइट है तो इंडिया गेट आ गए, कभी 9 रेस कोर्स पे चले गए, कहीं कहीं चले गए. तो most of the times they are involved in this, and therefore investigation is hampering. So that's why we see that first of all, even if laws are not very strong, and if the laws are strong, the implementation is not effective. In fact, you see the case of Jayalalitha, where the corruption case continued for 17 years, okay, and then the verdict come, and later on, within 1 year, she has been acquitted also. So we see that where there is a politics and higher officials are involved, we do not see the conviction of political class, or for that matter, any rich class. So this also, the elite group, certainly. So this is where we see the sort of, with respect to the corruption, the attitude has grown. It is like a low risk, high reward affair. How the Indians see towards the corruption. It is a low risk, high reward. This is also an attitude. because this attitude is created because we know that okay, punishment is not very strong and it takes a lot of time. Say for example, you are in 30s and 40s, you join in civil services, you think of, think मतलब कि rationally आप वे कर रहे हो, करप्शन करूँगा, उसके बाद जो है केसेस फाइल होने में और आने में 2-3 साल लगेंगे, केस चलने में 15 साल लगेंगे, तब तक आप 65 हो जाओगे, ठीक है। उसके बाद कुछ आएगा सेशन कोर्ट का, फिर आपकी अपील होगी, फिर 5-10 साल लगेंगे हाई कोर्ट सुप्रीम कोर्ट में जाने में, तो 70-80 हो जाएगा, तब तक आपके बच्चे आपके वो पूरे यूएस में चले गए, स्पाउसेस वगैरह 4 व्हीलर्स लेके घूम रही है, एंड देन यू थिंक ऑफ 70 ईयर्स में आ जाता है कि 2 साल की पनिशमेंट इनको, और उसमें सुप्रीम कोर्ट बोल देगा सीनियर सिटीजन देयरफॉर क्वांटम ऑफ पनिशमेंट शुड बी रिड्यूस्ड इनटू समथिंग, ओके, सम अदर वे, और मे बी यू विल नॉट बी देयर, ओके। सो द पर्सन इज अब 80 प्लस में क्या, तो पर्सन इस 40 साल पे सोच रहा है कि क्या ये भी अगर अटका तो, मतलब इफ एवरीथिंग गोज वेल देन दिस इज द थिंग, अदरवाइज ब्यूरोक्रेट से तो एक्सटेंडेड हैंड तो है ही है, इन्वेस्टिगेशन वगैरह मैनेज होता है, सो दैट हैज बिकम, एंड देयर इज नो डेटरेंस एब्सोल्यूट इन केस ऑफ अ करप्शन, एंड इट बिकम्स अ नॉर्म, दिस बिकॉज ऑफ the lack of strong laws and implementation of the law. So there has to be a strength into this. So the theory of deterrence is basically a prevention of crime, but the point is this prevention is by instilling fear and terror because of the consequences. What can be the opposite of deterrence? इंसेंटिव, हाँ, और इंसेंटिव क्या करोगे, और बताइए। मॉरल, यस, वर्च्यू एथिक्स इज द एक्चुअली द सॉल्यूशन, बिकॉज आई हैव रिपीटेडली सेड वी हैव अ गुड बिहेवियर बिकॉज आइदर वी फियर ऑफ लॉ और वी बिलीव इन इट दैट इट इज रॉन्ग थिंग टू डू. So virtue ethics is basically also a prevention of crime. But that's a very utopian to think that all the people will be virtuous. That's why we have to create a criminal justice system as well. Have you understood the part? Okay. So that's about the deterrence. And the last one, that's a separate. It is, although it is not related with crime and criminal, it is related with the victim. Separately you can write. Fourth likho, but ये victim से related है. Compensatory justice. Okay. Right. Compensation wala. Compensatory justice. Compensatory justice is, on one hand side, you are punishing the criminal, but how much really, okay, victim is going to get benefited. There is a sigh of relief. That's the only we can see. But sometimes, if the breadwinner of the family has died and etc., something has happened, so obviously, mere punishing the criminal also does not change the scenario for the victim. So there is a much requires to be done. Okay. So in that regard, if the case study is talking about some crime and etc., do not just restrict on the one part. Have empathy, compassion towards the victim and their whole issues, and also see that administration should also look into the compensating the victim. Now, compensation is various form: financial compensation, or taking a person into in some kind of employment, any rehabilitation, financial rehabilitation, or financial compensation, or any other form of rehabilitation should be done, okay, in order to provide the justice. This is basically in case of civilian जो केस रहती है उसमें तो compensation claim ही किया जाता है, तो उसमें तो कोई दिक्कत नहीं रहती है, लेकिन criminal cases में generally the victim की केस चलती रहती है, okay, किसी ने पेमेंट के ऊपर गाड़ी चला दी, okay, और 15 साल से केस चल रही है, हाँ, और यहाँ पे जो है breadwinner of the family has died, okay, and there is no attention that is being paid to the victim. So that's even when, अब इस केस में तो सजा भी नहीं हो रही है, there is no sigh of relief, forget about this. अब पता नहीं कार को ही जेल में डाले या फिर किसको जेल में डाले, okay, भाई वाले एक्सक्यूज करे, नहीं तो एकदम ऐसे लगे हमारे भाई के ऊपर ऐसे एलिगेशन कर दिया, okay. So that is where we see the compensation. How far do you think that if Salman Khan comes forward and say that, okay, how much loss has happened? 10 lakh. Okay, I'll pay you 1 crore rupees compensation. Okay. So win-win situation. The person is also saying that, okay, because he's very kind, an accident has happened accidentally, he has not done with the intention. And therefore, we say that, okay, it's fine. and he is also providing 10 times the compensation. वैसे भी 100 करोड़ तो रहते ही है, तो उसमें से 1% देना है उनको, ठीक है? How do you think this as a justice win-win situation? How many of you will support this? Victim is okay. Okay, victim is okay. Okay, if victim is okay, how many of you are going to go? Okay. Yes, in fact, you are negotiated the crime with the financial. It's not just about the victim. Okay, you have created a precedence in the society that you commit the crime and you get away with the financial money. Are you understanding? So there is no principle of equality before law. Okay, such kind of options will be given in your case study में दिए जाते, बहुत fascinating लग रहे हैं, हाँ सब कुछ तो ठीक हो रहा है यहाँ पे, ये भी खुश वो भी खुश, no, okay, तो there is equality before law, equal protection of law. In fact, essentially, the monetary sum has negotiated with the crime. It will set a very wrong precedence. There will not be a deterrence. There will be inequality. इसका मतलब ये भी हुआ कि जो गरीब है उसका तो कभी भी crime मतलब उसको punishment ही लेनी है. So there are various issues. So rich or poor, all are equal in the eyes of law. So if somebody has broken the law, so there has to be a punishment. Okay. Yes, there are certain cases where there are petty cases जिसको बोलते हैं. Petty cases can be solved by compensation, but not the obvious crimes such as heinous crimes वगैरह. जैसे road traffic acts, compoundable, non-compoundable offenses जो classification रहता है. ठीक है. So anyways, so the point here is हाँ. So that is not a legitimate way. Here you are saying that this is how the legitimate way we are providing with. This is wrong. We have to rectify. Law does not provide for it. Are you understanding? Law does not provide for it. It is what has happened here. We have to reform again more and more. As a law, we are not saying that rich should get away. That is happening. It means that there is some loopholes in the criminal justice system that we want to rectify. Okay? Yes, compensatory justice is a case. Case studies कैसे पूछी जाती है? Say, for example, something which I have mentioned about the prohibition of liquor in case of Bihar. So, corresponding to that, the tragedy has happened there. Okay, which tragedy has happened? Huch tragedy. Okay, so Huch is a country-made liquor. मतलब prohibition है तो पीना तो है ही है लोगों को, ठीक है? तो yes, country-made और illicit liquor जो बनती है, ओके, तो उन्होंने कंज्यूम कर ली, ओके, एंड दे डाइड, ओके, सम ग्रुप ऑफ पीपल डाइड. नाउ उस टाइम यू कैन नॉट लाइक एज एन एडमिनिस्ट्रेटर, अरे ये तो इलीगल है, वैसे भी मर गए, कहाँ के डेड बॉडी है, इसी को जेल में डाल दो या ऐसे कर दो, ओके. इवन इफ देर इज लिकर, सी देर इज ये तो पता ही होगा, IMFL वगैरह ये सब चीज़ें, इंडियन मेड फॉरेन कंट्री लिकर, ओके, हाँ ये पता रहता है, ठीक है. तो ये जो है इंडिया मेड फॉरेन लिकर, ओके, IMFL जिसको बोलते हैं, दैट्स वेयर हेल्थ वाइज फाइन तो नहीं बोल सकता अब यहाँ पे मैं, ठीक है. इट्स ओके एज कंपेयर टू द हुच. नाउ द पॉइंट इज व्हेन द हुच ट्रेजेडीज एंड सच थिंग्स हैपन एंड द केस स्टडीज प्रोवाइडेड. So there are two dimensions of providing the ethics. One is you have to speak about the action to be taken from the where this illicit production of liquor is happening, etc., etc. ये सब part आ जाएगा उसमें, okay? But at the same time, you have to also speak about compensatory justice from point of view of those people who have lost their life, okay? Because this is not just about the law and lawyers' point of view, okay? Lawyers may not be interested in case of compensation and the other respect, but going for the jurisprudence book and etc., etc. Being an administrator, when the case study is asked, you have to look into all the dimensions from the short term, long term, core problems, peripheral problems. Okay, so these are the points which you should remember. Now let's come to the other part, that is a distributive. You haven't written किसके बारे में? Compensatory. अरे compensation of victim. Okay, compensatory justice involves compensation of victims. Compensation of victims. Okay, this is in the form of financial compensation. This can be done in the form of financial compensation or any other means of rehabilitation. any other means of rehabilitation. Okay, जैसे providing the job or there can be different. See, modus operandi क्या आप कर रहे हो लिख रहे हो, that is not important. Have you touched that particular dimension that is being seen by the examiner? समझ में आया? क्या rehabilitation by way of financial compensation or by any other ways of rehabilitation such as providing a job, etc. Okay. Distributive क्या लिखा है वो? Okay, हाँ, that's the other part. डॉक्टर्स की ये हैंड राइटिंग ऐसी ही रहती है, ये तो मतलब हमारे लिए डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन है तो डी करके ऐसे ऐसे रहता है. तो वी एंश्योर दैट पीपल शुड नॉट गूगल द नेम ऑफ ड्रग एंड फाइंड द जेनेरिक नेम एंड देन परचेस द चीप मेडिसिन. तो ये सब बातें तो है ही. यस, क्या लिखना है? यस, इसका पहले तो देर आर डिफरेंट नेम्स हियर, जस्ट राइट द डिस्ट्रीब्यूटिव जस्टिस. Distributive justice. This is also called redistributive also. I'll explain why it is redistributive, but abhi to distributive hi likho. Distributive justice or the socio-economic justice is a component of socio-economic justice. Now, what are the issues in this case? Here the crime was there, but here the state have resources with them. And what should be the principle of resources? You can write the question here. The issue of justice involved. The issue of justice involve reducing the inequalities in the society, reducing the inequalities in society by distribution of resources, Okay. The criteria that is used for distribution of resources is principle of equity, comma into inverted comma likho, equity, principle of equity. Yes, what is this term? What is equity? Everyone's get the same. No, that's not it. Each according to need, what the Karl Marx would say. Yes. So let's see this way, that this is the rich, this is middle class, and this is poor. Now, when we say about equality, not equity, equality is about absolute equality. Say, for example, this will get 50 units, this will also get 50, and this also get 50. So, if we apply this principle in socio-economic inequality, then nothing will change. Okay, because here you are applied the equality criteria. Everybody should get equal. When we say equity, it means that depending upon the capacity and the need of person. So maybe here 50, so here it may require maybe the 70, or maybe here 30 is only required, or here some 100 units are required. So what is happening? So this much of resources are distributed. Now this distribution of resource is done on the basis of criteria, that is equity, and the equity depends, this criteria depends upon the capacity and the need of person. Capacity means capacity to sustain himself. Now, poor do not have the resources, so that his capacity is weak and his need is high. And in case of rich, its capacity is high and need is weak. So, right, this principle of equity involves distribution of resources based upon capacity and need of person, capacity and the need of person. जनरली नीड ही लिखा जाता है क्योंकि कैपेसिटी से कंफ्यूज मत करो. इट डज नॉट मीन दैट रिच एंड पुअर इज इंटेलेक्चुअल कैपेसिटी और फिजिकल कैपेसिटी इज डिफरेंट. इज टॉकिंग अबाउट सोशियो इकोनॉमिक कैपेसिटी दैट इफ ही डू नॉट हैव द एवेन्यूज, say for example landless laborer, okay, he does not have even land to till, he does not have the industry, he does not have the job, so obviously his capacity is weak. So capacity in terms of his condition we are speaking here, not questioning the intellectual or the physical capacity to contribute. So even if you are writing just need, it will convey the message जिसकी capacity कम होगी, poor होगा, तो वो that is about the need. So this criteria is applied in order to bridge the gap between rich and poor. क्या लिखा है आपने? The principle of equity involves the distribution of resources based upon need and capacity. You can write further. This criteria thus differentiate between rich and poor. This criteria thus differentiates between rich and poor, or strong and weak. Such discrimination which is done in order to benefit weaker section of society, which is done in order to benefit the weaker section of society is called as positive discrimination. The action taken by the state in favor of weaker section are known as affirmative actions. Affirmative means positive action. So something which we have done for the interest of the weaker section of the community, and therefore they are justified. So in case of distributive justice, some of the terms which are important, first is distributive justice, socio-economic justice, principle of equity, positive discrimination, and affirmative action. Okay, so whenever you are talking about social inequalities in the society, and in order to bridge the social inequalities and to create the vision of egalitarian society is a principle of equality, you need to apply the principle of equity. Okay, and that is a part of socio-economic justice. Okay, so this is a part. Now thinkers, we will discuss what are the thinkers, just for the sake of, because we are in scholars also, we need to see that who are the thinkers which propagate these ideas. So first, in this only, socio-economic justice, first is John Rawls. Okay, right? John Rawls. John Rawls has come up with the theory of justice. Theory of justice. So this theory of justice is basically with regard to this distributive, what should be the criteria and etc. So briefly we will see that for John Rawls, each society should be based upon, you can write, for Rawls, each society should be based on each society should be based upon three principles of justice. Three principles of justice. Each society is based on three principles of justice. So first principle is liberty of all. Liberty of all. So first theory is liberty. Okay. In society, everybody first what they will cherish is liberty. Was the scholar who said a lot on liberty? Yes, J.S. Mill. Okay, earlier J.S. Mill. In fact, J.S. Mill inspired John Rawls in writing his theory of justice. Okay, liberty of all. Second, he has spoken about equality of opportunity. Equality of opportunity. Equality of opportunity. Okay, it means that all people should have an opportunity. Third is difference principle. Write it, I will explain. Difference principle. In fact, that is what is making him consider under the socio-economic justice, because this is liberty and equality for everyone. Okay, this is also for all. This is also for all. So he is not making a differentiation between different class of citizen. This is for all. This is for all. But after everybody has got liberty and equality of opportunity, third principle that is applied is difference principle. Now let's understand what is this difference principle. See, generally we say that everybody, there should be an equality. But we have just now discussed, if we take the equality in socio-economic sphere, then we will not able to bridge the gap. Okay, so therefore John Rawls has said that inequality is justified so long as the intention of classification of people is to help the weaker section of the society. So आप मतलब समथिंग आर्टिकल 14 में आपने किया होगा रीजनेबल रिस्ट्रिक्शंस ऑन द इक्वालिटी बिफोर लॉ एंड इक्वल प्रोटेक्शन ऑफ लॉ दैट सम पीपल कैन बी डिफरेंशिएटेड सो दैट स्टेट कैन मेक एन इंटरवेंशन इन फेवर ऑफ देम. So this idea is in contemporary time has been talked by the John Rawls that we should differentiate people, but the intention of differentiation is to help the weaker section. Okay, then these criteria of justice are justified. Have you understood? Okay. ब्रेक क्या बोल रहे हैं? राइट, डिफरेंस प्रिंसिपल लिखो. ये लिखना है या समझ में आ गया? कुछ ज़्यादा नहीं. हाँ, वेल ऑफ इग्नोरेंस ये है कि जॉन रॉल्स ने बताया कि माई थियरी इज नॉट ऑन्टोलॉजिकल. ओके, ऑन्टोलॉजिकल मीन्स कॉन्सिक्वेंशियल समझ लो, विथ अ पर्पस कि मैंने ऑलरेडी कुछ डिसीजन सोच रखा है कि ऐसे ही मुझे तैयार करना है, सॉर्ट ऑफ अ डिक्टेटोरियल मेंटालिटी, और आप खाली ड्रामा कर रहे हो कि ये प्रिंसिपल होनी चाहिए, वो प्रिंसिपल आपने पहले सोच के रखा है कि ये किसको बेनिफिट करेगा, क्या करेगा, बट फॉर द सेक ऑफ सेइंग यू आर डूइंग इट. ही सेज दैट आई एम नॉट डूइंग दैट वे. ओके, आई एम अ विल ऑफ इग्नोरेंस. मुझे कुछ नहीं पता है किसको क्या बेनिफिट करेगा, नथिंग आई नो. सो why he is saying this? Because he is saying that my theory is not a predetermined one. Any logical person, if he is behind the wheel of ignorance, मतलब उसको कुछ नहीं पता है, तो वो क्या क्या चाहेगा लाइफ में, जस्टिस के प्रिंसिपल. So he is saying that all societies will reach to this point when they are behind the wheel of ignorance. A normal rational mind will seek liberty. Normal rational mind will seek equality of opportunity, and then after enjoying this for everyone, he also think of what if I become a poor person. So he also makes some arrangement. If I become belonging to the poor category, then there has to be certain arrangement. That is he called difference principle. That differentiation is justified so long as it is helping the poor. Understood? हमें ज़्यादा theory में नहीं जाना है. Okay, the point is you just have to understand that John Rawls is an important person who is making a strong case for state intervention in order to help the weaker section of the society. That is particularly through the difference principle. Have you understood this? Okay, now second scholar you can write. Difference principle, okay, you can write simple meaning. This is very simplified version. Otherwise, in political science and legal sphere, it's a very, very big theory. Okay, you need not have to go through this deliberations of different debates. Okay, simply write difference for roles. For roles, differentiation between people, differentiation of people is justified as long as such differentiation is benefiting the weaker section. So he is not justifying rich and poor and therefore rich should also get advantage, etc. Only when if it is justifying the poor. Okay. In fact, yesterday we have spoken about the conservative and hierarchy. That is also discrimination, but that is based upon the status in order to maintain the aura of elite people. Conservatives also want there should be a hierarchy. But what is the intention of hierarchy? In order to enjoy the power, in order to enjoy the status, make the society unequal so that they will benefit. Here he is also saying that there should be a stratification, but we can identify who is at the bottom of pyramid so that we can help them. Okay, both are unequal, but there is ethics in inequality, that is for the positive discrimination and for the affirmative action. In fact, what is written ऊपर वो सब common है, उसके अंदर ही thinkers है. So second, you can write here the Dworkin, resource allocation principle लिखो बस. पूरी theory नहीं करनी है, resource allocation. It's the same thing. Principle of equity or capacity and need is used for the resource allocation. Principle of resource allocation. Principle of equity, that is in bracket capacity and need. Capacity and need is used for allocation of resources. Allocation of resources. Yes, resource allocation is principle of equity, that is in bracket capacity and the need, is used for allocation of resources. So depending upon capacity and the need, what we have already said. So he's simply saying, see that John Rawls was the first person who came up with idea. Now how to take the idea forward, Dworkin has said that we need to allocate more resources to the poor as compared to the rich class. So he has taken it one step forward. Okay. In fact, let me give an example so that you can understand. Let's see, there are 3 individuals gone on an island. Okay. A, B, C. Okay. आइलैंड में जाने के बाद सब घूम जाता है उनका, मतलब पैसे, फूड वगैरह वगैरह, कोई कोना प्यारे टाइप्स वाला याद करो. Okay, so no resource, no money, nothing is there. Now, as Dworkin says, not Darwin. Dworkin नहीं है. Darwin ने क्या बोला? Survival for the fittest. So you will do something or the other in order to survive. So what they are doing is, since they don't have the money, okay, so they are dividing the task among themselves. Okay, कोई पानी लेके आए, कोई खाना बनाए, कोई चटाई डाले वगैरह वगैरह ऐसे ऐसे. Division of labor. Now they want a certain thing through which they can sell and purchase their particular work. So what they are picking the clamshells. Clamshells matlab there are some precious stones lying there. So they have collected the precious stones. Now these precious stones they are using as a coins. Now how much coins to be given to each one? Okay, this is a principle of resource allocation is going on. Okay, are you understanding? Okay, so 3 of them have done 3 different tasks. and they want to now sell and purchase. So they have picked up the precious stones, and precious stones पहले सब में distribute हो रहे, so that their capacity will be increased in order to sell and purchase their work. Now, there is some information here. A is a very young and strong person. Okay, physically strong we are talking here. B is, say for example, senior citizen. And C is physically challenged. Okay. So in this case, the resource allocation, you see the criteria now. The 10 is allocated here, resource allocation. This is the criteria of equality. Okay, all of them have got 10 precious stones. But then there is a second round of distribution, wherein first will not get anything, second will 5, and third will 5. Then there is a third round, first and second will not get, and this will get 2 more. Now this is what we call the principle of equity. This is what we call a principle of equality. Okay, equality, all are equal. Okay, equity is depending upon capacity and the need. Okay, so capacity of senior citizen and capacity of physically challenged, okay, more and more this thing. So this additional resources is allocated based upon capacity and the need in order to make the weaker at par with the strongest one. Okay, this is what we have explained, that principle of equity, okay, rich and poor and etc. So that is what is a resource allocation principle. Resource allocation principle of equity is used in order to allocate the resources. Now the third, the final one, okay. The third scholar is Amartya Sen. कौन से कंट्री के हैं? हाँ, पाकिस्तान देखो. Amartya Sen. Now, what is the Sen talking about? Sen is saying that, again, difference principle is fine, resource allocation is fine, but he says that state should not stop at mere allocating the resources, but state should empower them. It's called empowerment approach. Okay. Empowerment approach. In fact, there is a proverb in Chinese: don't give the fish, teach him how to catch the fish. Okay. How long you are going to give the fish? You are making somebody dependable. Okay. And if you teach him how to catch the fish, then it is a sustainable one. Okay. So he's saying that, again, he's taking one step forward. Okay. State should not stop at resource allocation, but development of or empowering the weaker section of the society is required, and therefore the state should invest in social infrastructure such as health, education, employment, skill development, etc. So in order to empower them. This is something like subsidies in resource. Okay, but he is saying that one step or आगे जाना चाहिए in order to empower them also. This is called as empowerment approach. In fact, very important book he has written again on it. हाँ, बहुत सारी है. हम बिल्कुल welfare economics में इनका contribution ये है कि, see, there are 2 schools of thought you must be knowing. Yesterday I explained, I think, the Jagdish Bhagwati school and Amartya Sen school. So this is a bottom-up approach, and उनका जो है trickle-down approach. Okay, trickle-down में let the Adani Ambani grow, and it will automatically trickle down. That is what Adam Smith has said. State should not intervene, and there is an invisible hand, and trickle down will happen. This is a Bhagavati school of thought. Amartya Sen says you have to start from the bottom. Okay, invest in social infrastructure. Social infrastructure is health, education, employment, skill development, any kind of activities where empower them. In fact, he has went on to say, relate the empowerment with the freedom also. He has talked something called as real freedom. So think of if there is a beggar and there is a freedom. What is the use of freedom for him? So real freedom is when he has a capacity to realize what he wished to do. That is only with the empowerment. So freedom will have no significance until and unless he has a capacity. and capacity is through the empowerment. So once the capacity is developed, then only the real freedom. So important theories, that is a welfare economist, one of the greatest economists of all times, and he was awarded the Nobel Prize also. What was his thesis, by the way? What was his? हाँ वेलफेयर, लेकिन क्या कौन सा इशू था? What was the issue? HDI नहीं, HDI, yes, he was one of the person who was instrumental in this bringing this criteria of HDI along with Mahbubul Haq. Okay, हाँ पाकिस्तान बोलेंगे तो पता नहीं जेल में डाल देंगे, लेकिन है अब, ठीक है. हाँ बताइए. यस, फेमाइन के ऊपर थेसिस बनाया था वे बैक इन बिफोर इंडिपेंडेंस. जो फेमाइन हुआ था 1943 आई थिंक. So there was a West Bengal famine, and there was a scarcity of food. So what was his theory? It was a man-made famine. Okay, it was not the food production was less. It was the administration failure and etc. and etc. So he has put that is a welfare economist में वो theory है जिसके ऊपर उनको thesis के. Anyway, so that's not the point. Point here is these all are the social liberals who are talking in favor of the weaker section of the society. Principle of distribution of resources should be such that it should not increase the gap between rich and poor, but it should bridge the gap between the rich and poor and everybody, and there should be a egalitarian society should be established. In fact, historically also you can put the Ambedkar as one name, because whenever question of social justice and socio-economic equality, you can also historic figure as Ambedkar, who has fought lifelong for the socio-economic equalities. But these are the contemporary scholars. Particularly, you can even forget Rawls, and this Amartya Sen is well acclaimed, and even if you can remember this with regard to socio-economic issues, okay, then also it's fine. So the point is the types of justice differ in both the cases. I said that distributive is also redistributive also. It's the same thing. How the redistributive? From rich, yes, tax. If you apply the taxation structure, so tax is, yes, progressive taxation. Progressive taxation is a sort of a justice in a sense that you are taking the money out of the rich and distributed into the poor section. How does the Robin Hood stand here? How do you just... yes, obviously. So, is the Robin Hood, how do you analyze the Robin Hood ethically? So, he is also, क्या है, गरीबों अमीरों से लेता है और गरीबों में बांटता है. So, यही तो हम सीख रहे हैं. तो where the Robin Hood, how do you analyze the Robin Hood? Means, yes. End is fine. What he is doing essentially is exactly what we are discussing, that is bridging the gap between rich and poor, but the means are not correct. Means are extortion, okay, perpetuation of all the illegitimate ways of extracting the resources, although the end is justified by the means. So therefore we cannot justify illegitimate ways of doing good things, okay. So that's another thing, but many times moral studies, case studies will be created. They will say बहुत अच्छा काम है, ये है, थोड़ा सा compromise आपको करना है, etc. etc. They try to check the value. This is where the integrity comes in. Okay, integrity is following the moral values consistently in all the circumstances. So this aspect should also be kept in mind, and that's about the distributive justice. So that is it about the justice part. Break. Yes, we'll take a break and we'll continue with some more themes later. If you have any doubt, please ask. Doubt रहता है नहीं रहता है? मनरेगा, हाँ, सब मनरेगा सब है. मनरेगा है, नेशनल रूरल एमजी नरेगा है, हाँ, सर्व शिक्षा अभियान, नेशनल रूरल हेल्थ मिशन, एनआरएचएम, जो कि अभी एनएचएम हो गए हैं. इनफैक्ट यूपीए ने जो भी पहले स्कीम्स लाई थी, अमर्त्य सेन वाज अ ब्रेन बिहाइंड द ऑब्वियसली द स्कीम्स दैट हैव बीन, जिसको बोलते हैं एंटाइटलमेंट बेस्ड अप्रोच और राइट बेस्ड अप्रोच, जो अभी बोला जा रहा है, राइट बेस्ड और एंटाइटलमेंट बेस्ड. सो दिस इज ऑब्वियसली द पार्ट ऑफ दैट. सो वी आर डिस्कस द जस्टिस. In justice, two types. See, just कहीं पे note करके लिख लो, what is the difference between equality and equity. Although in general parlance you can use them interchangeably generally, but there is a specific meaning. Equality is, this is in absolute sense. This means all are absolutely equal. Okay, this is specific sense in terms of legal aspect. We have absolute equality. We say that all are equal in the eyes of law. All are equal in eyes of law. Okay, so everybody is equal. In fact, in case of political sense, political aspect, here also all are equal. In a sense that you have right to, all have right to vote. And in fact, one person, one individual, only one vote. So there is equality. It's not something rich will have a weightage system जिसको बोला जाता है कि 2-3 votes they can do or block voting. हाँ. Pardon? This right to vote, one individual, one vote. Okay, there is equality. Whether it is a rich, whether it is a poor, so all are equal. All are absolutely equal. Now, in case of equity criteria, now if you see, this is a legal aspect and this is a political aspect. In case of socio-economic aspect, legal aspect, all are equal in the eyes of law. So anybody who is committing the crime are equal. Political aspect, political rights, okay, that right to vote, okay, there is no discrimination. All have right to vote or right to fight the election. Okay, there is no discrimination. There is one person, one vote. So that's the equality. Now, in case of socio-economic aspect, progressive taxation, no, you cannot like. That is not an absolute equality. Where is absolutely? All are not applied. Equity we will come. Yes, certainly. In case of socio-economic aspect, when we say socio-economic equality, this is basically we want to create it. This is a goal. Okay, in present situation, there is not absolute equality when it comes to the socio-economic sense. Social sense means social aspects. We have elite section and then poor section, rich and poor. Therefore, in order to bring socio-economic equality, we use the criteria of equity. Okay, through the equity, we bring a socio-economic equality. Okay, so equity is all are not absolutely equal. In fact, there is a discrimination that we have already explained that equity is, yes, on the basis of need, differentiation is made. Okay, differentiation of people based upon the need and capacity, and accordingly we can allocate the resources. In fact, equity is a means and socioeconomic equality is a end. Okay, through the principle of equity, we want to create socioeconomic equality, or you can say that the idea here is bringing and reducing the gap in between the rich and the poor. So that's, you should clear cut remember equality and equity. Now write one question. Okay. It is being said, equal should be treated equally, and unequal should be treated unequally. Equal should be treated equally, and unequal should be treated unequally. Okay. What do you understand by this statement? What do you understand by this statement? And discuss its application. Discuss its application in the context of distributive justice. Discuss its application in the context of distributive justice. Okay. Now, in fact, in the context of distributive justice, see, in case of distributive justice, we tend to think about different criterias, and the statement of Aristotle, in fact, the statement is originally a very complex one, in a sense that Aristotle says it is unjust to treat equals unequally and unequals equally. Okay, तो उसका दो negation of two is one positive assertion. और लिखना है तो लिख लो, it is unjust, ब्रैकेट में लिख लो क्योंकि उस वैसे भी पूछा जा सके. It is unjust to treat equals unequally. It is unjust to treat equals unequally and क्या लिखा है पहले? Equals unequally, unequals equally and unequals equally. So इसका मीनिंग हुआ कि unequal should be treated unequally and equal should be treated equally. So can you write and identify its meaning? What is the meaning of yes? Try it for 2 minutes and then we'll discuss whatever you understand by this statement, and then we'll discuss. No, right, obviously, right. What you have done? Yeah? Brainstorming. Yes, very good. In fact, I thought legal में crime जो है poor fellow करेंगे तो थोड़ा उनको कम punishment ऐसे भी हो सकता है क्या? No, it cannot be, because in legal and political sphere you cannot bring that. Otherwise, it's like a incentivizing. So, in terms of law, it cannot be. But yes, certainly the legal free aid in order to, because dispensation of justice also required some expenditure. In fact, revised directive principle of state policy, one of the when directive principles were revised, have they revised or not? Amended? Huh? 39A क्या है? Directive principle of state policy 39A. Equal pay for equal work नहीं है. हाँ? Justice and free legal aid. Okay. Anyways, हाँ, tell. Hmm. Hmm. Privileged. Okay, some people are more privileged. Huh? Hmm. Okay, ठीक है, positive discrimination, हाँ. Hmm. Yes. So basically, the question is saying that if there is a hierarchy, okay, let's say some people in this part and this is part. So these all people are equal, and this all people are equal, okay? Or for that matter, the people who are equally situated, if you treat them unequal, then that is unjust. Say for example, see, there are two parts. केवल distributive justice में आपको तो answer लिखना है second, but there are two statements. One statement is equal should be treated equally. That should not also forgotten. Although focus of the answer should be on unequal should be treated unequally in terms of social distribution. Equal should be treated equally. This is basically talking about equality before law in terms of legal matters. इक्वल मतलब यहाँ पे रिच एंड पुअर का इक्वल नहीं चल रहा है. यहाँ पे यू हैव टू ब्रिंग इन दोज पीपल हु कमिट अ सेम क्राइम, सेम सिचुएशन, सेम सर्कमस्टेंसेस शुड बी ट्रीटेड equally. Okay, all those who are equal circumstances, particularly in terms of legal crimes and etc., equal should be treated equally. So किसी ने एक क्राइम किया, जैसे मनु एक लॉ था, उसमें जो है मनुस्मृति, हाँ मनुस्मृति में जो लिखा हुआ है, दैट इज फॉर द सेम क्राइम देयर इज अ डिफरेंट punishment. So equals were treated unequally there. That is in equal circumstances. But in case of legal terms, you should, okay, those who are committing the same crime should meet with the same result. There should be absolute equality with respect to that. The second aspect is about the unequal should be treated unequally, or it is unjust to treat unequals equally. समझ में आ रहा है नहीं आ रहा है? Okay. It is unjust to treat unequals equally. This is about rich and poor. Okay, if you put rich and poor equally, so it is unjust. Or in other words, unequal should be treated unequally in a sense that you have to take into account socio-economic circumstances of a person in order to help him. So the second part involves positive discrimination, affirmative action. In fact, this John Rawls difference principle that we have to differentiate people, and therefore we have to give the in the eyes of we have to give resources differently in order to help them. Now, this aspect, in fact, although this statement we have interpreted, but to be correctly speaking or technically speaking, this statement of Aristotle, and he has a very different meaning. In fact, you should not forget to write that also. In fact, what the Aristotle wanted, Aristotle was not in favor of this egalitarian approach and this sort of thing. In fact, he was talking about unequal should be treated unequally. जैसे जॉन रॉल्स ने मैंने एक स्टेटमेंट बताया था कि डिफरेंस प्रिंसिपल, वी शुड डिफरेंशिएट द पीपल इन अ सोसाइटी एज लॉन्ग एज इट इज बेनिफिटिंग द लोअर सेक्शन. Aristotle is other way around. He is saying that difference should be there in order to benefit this. How? The one, say for example, the one who is working hard, intelligent, okay, master and slave, पकड़ लो ऐसे, ठीक है? So master is doing lot of work, so there has to be certain incentive in order to keep him happy, in order to, so reward, he was basically talking about rewards. Rewards should be based upon the contribution one makes to the society. Otherwise, there will not be an incentive and people will not work. Are you understanding? That's also equally true. In fact, what we say, the distribution, in fact, in case of distributive principles, there can be two broader ideas. Okay, one is the idea of a merit, okay, and another one idea of equity. Okay, so idea of equity is basically helping the weaker section, and merit is the one who is capable. Okay, irrespective of state intervention, whatever the capacity. So you should able to write both the ideas. From the Aristotle point of view, the merit and the one who contribute more should receive the more reward, and the one contribute less should get the less reward. But then you can say that although this apparently seems to be correct, but this will increase the inequalities, and therefore we have to also, then you can bring the John Rawls and bring the aspect where the weaker section of the society also should be benefited. So there has to be a balance in the society, like what you have in case of Indira Sahani case. Indira Sahani case कौन सी थी? Yes, Mandal Commission. So Mandal Commission was after when VP Singh has come up with the OBC reservation. So following that, there was a Mandal Commission. So Mandal Commission has tried to balance both the things. Okay, when the OBC reservation was given, so the lot many things were said by the by the government in favor of OBC, but later on Supreme Court has put certain restrictions. Okay, so first restriction is only 50% will be given to this. So 50% should be meritocratic. So upper ceiling, that's the one criteria they have applied. Second, it should be limited only to the entry point and not in promotion. Third, they have applied is creamy layer criteria will be there so that economically well-off section will not get it. Are you understanding? So these are some of the points wherein you have to balance both merit as well as this, and it will not be very just to say that when you are treating them unequals and only favoring them, that's also create a sort of discrimination in the minds of this class. Okay, so there is a balance, and both the affirmative action and this thing and plus meritocracy should go hand in hand. Have you understood? So principle of distribution here is both merit plus social equity. But we have focused particularly those scholars because it is they are talking in the context of how to bridge the poverty, how to bridge the socio-economic inequalities. So these are the points. Apart from that, also do not relate to any kind of help. Har sector ka ek subsidies from economic sense. Okay, legal aid, as she has said, that's also some sort of protective discrimination. So some of the examples you can give, okay, in order to write the answers. So I hope the point is clear. Okay, so that's about this was a statement of Aristotle. Okay, if at all you wanted to remember, but Aristotle was considered as a liberal philosopher in those time, in a sense that he wanted to create a meritocratic society. There is nothing wrong about meritocratic society, but starting point of all people are not equal. The problem of having only criteria of merit is when we say about equality of opportunity, then we have to see the context of each one of the human being. And when there is a socio-economic inequalities, equality of opportunity is not equal in absolute sense. All of you are following what I'm trying to say. Okay? Meritocratic is, yes, ideal goal. But think of when there is a glaring inequality, some person is having good money in order to go to the coaching institute, go into the higher education, and have a good college, and etc., etc. And he has vehicle to come, then good facilities to work, go to the library, etc., etc. And think of somebody living in a slum, he does not have the money even to come for the class. There is no electricity there. Okay, in fact, he is working overnight in order to feed his family. Now, in this case, we say that now let's apply the same criteria. So therefore, we have to also go for some sort of protective discrimination so that they can be bring at par with the other parts. I hope point is clear now. Okay, so that's the issue with regard to the merit as well as the equity. So this is a criteria for the distribution. Or now write the next theme. Okay. In fact, before that, there are again two words. Please remember these two words also. That is equality of opportunity. Equality of opportunity and equality of outcome. Equality of opportunity and equality of outcome. Now, here is a case where people agreed upon one point, that there has to be certain positive discrimination. But then, to what degree